Hey internet viewers, this is Ted Journey, a desert gardener, with a real quick video about bottle gardens. I discovered bottle gardens about 4 or 5 years ago maybe, just looking around the internet one day and saw that people were actually taking old soda bottles and old 2-liter bottles and whatnot, and stacking them up and making gardens, poking holes in them and making little planters on them, and I thought that would be very cool. So that's what I did, and I still have them. They're going, and I just wanted to sort of share with you a little bit of what a bottle garden can look like maybe after 4 years of use, misuse, abuse, and whatnot. But before we go in and look at those things, I just wanted to share with you a couple things just about the construction of them. This isn't going to be a 1, 2, 3 ABC kind of video about how to build a bottle garden. There's lots of those up, and instructable videos and whatnot. I already went through all of that, and you can do the same thing and it'll be fine. I just learned a couple things and I wanted to share those with you. Namely, choose your bottle and then figure out how you're going to stack them up together. Figure out how you're going to attach them to whatever surface. Figure out how many courses you want them to be, or however tall you want them to be, and then basically that's it. The key is to figure out the diameter and the size of hole that you need to drill in each thing, each bottle bottom, which now becomes the top, to correspondingly screw in and attach the next course. Now, does that make sense? I think you get what I'm saying, and you'll be able to see it in there, and you see how other people attach them as well. What I found was that if I filled them with water and then froze them solid, it made my drilling a lot easier, and it also made the cutting of the holes in the plastic with an X-Acto knife much easier to have a solid surface rather than having it do this as you're cutting at it. So just a little tip there for that. Another thing that I found after assembling them, screwing them all together, is that I had clear planters, and that was really no good because we found a lot of algae growing inside of them. So you'll see that I figured out a way to paint them, and I would suggest you do the same thing, either with some old latex house paint. That's kind of fun because you can work in some wacky colors, or a spray paint, or whatever it is. But I would recommend covering the surface somehow. So let me check my notes real quick before we actually go up and cut into the greenhouse. As far as filling them, I think any aggregate that you want to choose to use in there is just fine. Any kind of potting soil, make sure it's well draining and whatnot. One thing that I did discover, of course, is that here in the desert, it being a very dry climate, you're going to want to include some cocoa, because as we've found, our peat moss can become extremely hydrophobic sometimes, meaning that the water, it'll become so dry when exposed to the air that water will just sheet right off it, and it will never, it's very hard to rehydrate it. And I found less of that problem using cocoa. So whatever mix you put inside of these things, I would consider adding some cocoa if you're in a desert climate. All right, so let's go on into the greenhouse now. Okay, so here we have 3 versions of the bottle garden. The first version were made out of single serving size soda pop bottles that are actually lashed onto this piece of wood here that's a structure in here. Each one has a little hole drilled in it, and you can see I painted them white. And then up on top there's also a clear upside down bottle with a hole cut in it that I can then fill with water, that then the water will drain down. You'll see there's not a tremendous number of plants in here, as in I've had some issues with cooling and or lack of cooling in the greenhouse, and so they're not really in service right now. These are some volunteer clovers that came in, and so that happened. And this is a big old plant that you can see, I don't know the exact species name, that right after I built it, I went ahead and planted that in there. So, one other thing I wanted to mention real quick, here are the drill bits that I used. And this is 1.5 inches, which is the exact size to put these size juice bottles together. Let's go ahead and get you off of the tripod to get up and get close, and we can talk more about some of the details of the construction of them. Okay? Okay, so up close and personal, you can see how the watering thing works. There's a hole cut in it there. That's then screwed in or kind of attached to the first planter. feeds into the second one, which has a happy plant in it. Behind there's a third one and a fourth one, etc., 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 etc. Coming all the way down to the end, and I found that if you put a cap on there and drill a couple holes, the water won't come rushing through too much. Okay. Now, here's the second generation of these things. And I thought it might be nice if I attached the bottle garden to some fence post material. Okay? And then made a little platform for my drainage cup. And then figured out a way up on top to hang it, so you can move the garden. It's portable and can actually move, you'll see. And so they're decorated posts with the bottle garden attached to it. Okay. So, and there's a little cup down there at the bottom to catch any kind of drain or runoff water. You get the idea behind that. Anyway, I can't really think of too much more right now. Oh, well, anyhow, here's one other thing. You'll see I used version 1 is on the left. Pure soda bottles stacked up, lashed permanently to the wall. Version 2 in the middle, oh boy, it is attached to a fence post, totally portable, larger capacity of soil, and decorated much more. Version 3, which was kind of a failure, attached to a wider fence post, different styles of water bottles that are not enjoying being together. See, that's kind of a failure point right there, and I'm afraid it's going to collapse. And once again, draining down to its own little drainage platform. So you get the picture, you get the idea. Fun, portable things for your fun, portable bottle gardens for fun and enjoyment. You can make 100 of them and move them all around and drive people crazy. Good luck with the species. You know, I think that if you had a nice environment, you could probably grow quick-growing annuals in there. You can grow any number of things. This is what some perennials do in there. And once I get the heat figured out, then we'll get the species figured out. Anyway, listen, until next time, thanks for joining me, and be well.